Hi there. Welcome to Tracking Malicious Activity Across the Sumo Attack Lifecycle. I'm Prentice Hayes. I'm a security researcher. I've been with Sumo for about a year. Before that, I was with ArcSight for about 13 years. And I've been doing computer security for a little over 2 decades. Tracking malicious activity is difficult. It's really a tricky thing. And one of the things that I've done in the last 10 years is try to figure out how to make this easier to do. And one of the things that I'm responsible for at Sumo is developing the security content that's going to come out of the box with use cases and user stories to help you find the problems that you have in your network that are security related. So that's the first takeaway, is we want to help you find and focus on your security weak points so that you can do something about them. Every security rule that we write will contribute, and the third part is we're going to make it easy to leverage because we're going to show you how we do it, and you can do the same thing in just a few clicks. So starting out, what is an attack lifecycle? So when you're thinking about computer security and defending networks, you're really thinking in a defensive and almost militaristic way. I mean, networks have a common zone called a DMZ, demilitarized zone. Thinking about it from the security and military perspective, defense operations perspective, is sort of a natural thing. So there's this concept of a kill chain that Lockheed Martin came up and trademarked as the cyber kill chain. And they went through these sets of steps to show you how things progress in an attack and what happens after the successful attack. And then they kind of, wandered off a little bit, which is fair. I mean, they weren't trying to solve all the world's problems in one paper, but we were looking at it from a perspective of, well, we're monitoring this. So how can we adapt Lockheed Martin's cyber kill chain into something that's useful for us and easier to use? And there's a big history on this. This is a screenshot of the Wikipedia page. If you look for, if you just Google cyber kill chain or kill chain, this will come up. Did I turn it off? Oh, I did. Oh, wrong button. So the nice thing about network defense is that we need to think about entities and what are we defending. Before you can defend it, you have to know what you're defending. And after you know what you're defending, you have to be able to identify who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Who are your customers, who are your employees, and who are these guys out there that are either potential customers or potential attackers. So why do we care? Well, we're in the cloud now. And it's even harder to figure out where things are coming from. And the inside, you may know your application framework in the cloud frontwards and backwards, but your security team probably doesn't, not as well as you do. And they may be more sysadmin types, maybe DevOps, and not down at the code level where they understand the individual Lambda functions or clusters or any of the framework, the way your data flows through your application. So they need to start modeling what is good, what things do, and the users, which users are developers, which users are our customers, which users are doing things and how they're affecting the data flow and how you protect all of that. So typically we have different ways of identifying systems or users. Users are usually pretty easy, but like in some of the previous conversations, Okta calls a user ID or a username something different. So all these different things are kind of ambiguous at first until you study the logs. Also with systems, you get MAC addresses, you get IP addresses, you get host names, you get instance IDs, and an instance may last for a short amount of time or a longer amount of time. So figuring out what's the important part of that instance could be a very critical thing. And then when you're looking at an attack on it and it's been gone for 2 hours, then why are you wasting your time on it, right? the other problem is the source of a communication may not be the bad guy. And the primary example on that is if I get an email and it looks like it's something really neat to look at and it's got some information or a cool website that I should check out, and I click on that link, I'm the source of that communication from the basic firewall or proxy view, but that URL goes to a web server that the bad guys control. So that's the actual attacker. So the VPC flow says I'm the source, but the attacker is actually at the destination. It's a trap, so an ambush or something like that. So you don't always know from just looking at one log who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. So now I'd like to talk about the Sumo attack lifecycle, which again is somewhat based off the Lockheed Martin cyber kill chain. And it's going to be in three basic parts. There's the kind of pre-attack stuff. There's the activities that happen once they get a foothold. And then there's the reason why they're there. I'm going to go over each of these in general, but since we've kind of talked about the militaristic nature of network defense, and we're going to combine that with, a man's home is his castle. So I'm going to kind of switch from more military jargon into, say, your house. We all have, 3-story houses with a basement, a pool house, a guest house, and, 5 acres of land around our area of stuff, right? So that's the dream, right? So imagine you have a house and you're, a happy homeowner and you go off to work, and while you're gone at work, nobody's in the house, and you've got these guys doing recon. So you see these guys, if you were there, you would see these guys drive by, they may walk by, they're looking, they're basically casing the joint, right? They're looking to see where are the defenses, who's home when. Are you there during the day? Is there somebody at home during the day? Or do you go out and party at night? Or do you have 3-day weekends often and you leave for, on Friday and don't come back till Tuesday? So that's, as long as they're looking from the outside, you don't really care. But once they start like walking up to your house and peering in the windows and moving bushes aside and climbing the trellis to look in windows upstairs, then you start getting concerned, right? So this is kind of the, homeowner's view of network defense from that perspective. The delivery may be something that's easily seen. Like there may be a box on the porch and you bring it inside the house and it does something like it has a little drone that'll go in, you open it up and you go, oh, this is cute, what is this? I didn't order it. And then you set it down, you forget about it, you're going to send it back. And, but you have to go to work, so you go to work and then the little drone flies up and it goes over to your front door and it unlocks it or something. Magic drones, they can do anything now, right? So drones are fun. Indoor drones are even more fun, but indoor drones that you don't control are probably not good. So in cyber security, the email, the phishing email, an attachment in a spreadsheet or something like that. There's lots of ways. There are also attacks that are actually the delivery and the exploit happen at the same time, so it's really difficult to make the distinction. And that's the important thing with the exploit. So, for example, if you remember back in the early 2000s with the slammer worm, single packet, it was the exploit, it was the execution code. Once it got through, it started scanning and then sent itself out, and it just rapidly expanded throughout all of these networks, especially Windows networks, because it was a Microsoft SQL Server attack. That's a single packet attack that did a lot of damage really quickly and took out a lot of BGP routers. So, there are lots of different ways that these things can go wrong. Or right if that was what the attackers actually were intending to do. After the exploit, after something's gotten a foothold in, then what? Well, I mean, they don't just like hack your web server and say, hey, look, I hacked your web server. They've got a reason for being there, and they're going to start doing things. So one of the first things that they might do is they might call home and say, hey, I'm in, I got in. So imagine, you're gone for a 3-day weekend, Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, guy breaks into your house, calls his friends, says, hey, party at your house. And everybody converges on your house for a 3-day weekend because they know you're not going to be gone. And the neighbors never pay attention, so there's no neighborhood watch, and who's going to notice a wild party at somebody's house? They're going to collect stuff. They've got a bag. They're going through before everybody else comes over, and they're finding your jewelry. They're finding your video games. They're finding your Xbox or your PlayStation. They're throwing it in a bag so that when they leave, they've got some stuff that they can sell or play with or whatever. Concealment. They're not stupid. They're going to wipe their fingerprints off of the refrigerator after they opened it and drank all your beer and ate all your cake and then, went through your cabinets and ate all your Cheetos and your potato chips and stuff. So they're going to clean up after themselves so that you don't know that they've been there to a point. Discovery. They're in, they've called, they've got people over, they're going to find out where the kitchen is, they're going to find out, oh, is there a liquor cabinet somewhere? Ooh, do you have a gun cabinet? Maybe guns are a prized thing because, these guys are not necessarily friendly. Expanding access. There is a gun cabinet. How do I get into it? I need to be able to get into it. They may start looking through your drawers, in your dresser or your nightstand to find the key to the gun cabinet. Lateral movement. They've been there a while. They're happy. They're looking around. They're going, this is a nice house. This is a nice neighborhood. Maybe there's some houses next door that'd be nice too, and we should start looking at them. Maybe they're going to move out, plan for their next move or move over to the next house next door because they notice that those neighbors are gone too. Maybe you're friends with them and you all went on the same trip. And then finally, persistence. They find your spare key. Well, they had to break in this time, but if they make an imprint or make a copy of your key, then they can come back anytime they want. All they have to know is that you're not there. They've got a key. They don't have to break in. They walk up to the front door, unlock it, and walk on in. So after they've done all these things, then they can actually start thinking about what they want to do. But before we go to that, you have to understand they may not do all of the 7 things that I've listed that we talked about. They may not do C2. Slammer didn't do C2. They may not do persistence. They may not expand access. They may just do discovery, a lateral recon, and then launch an attack, lateral movement or expand access. So all these things may happen in the first day, in the first few minutes, or it may not start for 6 months. There's a reason why they call APT APT. And if you don't know APT, that's Advanced Persistent Threat. And that is, the really high-end guys who know what they're doing, who are professionals at this sort of thing. Although those guys probably aren't going to come in and just drink your beer. The objectives are why they got there. Fun thing about objectives is that they may decide that you're a commercial entity and that you move a lot of money and you sell stuff on the web. They want to collect all the credit card information. And that may be the initial reason they get in there. Once they get in there, though, they may decide there's another reason for this. Like, oh, look, they've got these plans for this new product or something like that. And that looks really cool. And we could make a lot of money selling that to somebody else to manufacture. Oh, this is really neat. We can make a lot of money doing that. So it depends on what they discover through the discovery phase as to how much more or how much longer they're going to stay in your network. And of course, unlike the people that are going to throw an illicit party at your house, these guys aren't going to clean up and then pretend and just, lock up after they leave. They're going to keep a foothold because 6 months later, they may decide that you may have something else more useful, or you may get new credit card information in from new customers, and we'll come and steal that later. So the objectives can be classified into the 3 security pillars. The first one is a violation of confidentiality, like credit card data, PII, your address, your home address, your phone number, your social security number, all these things that they don't want you, that you don't want being given out. The reason that companies have to provide credit reporting information when they have to disclose that they've been breached. The next one is integrity. If I owned Amazon $5,000 and I only had $40 and I could just hack into their website and change my billing from $5,000 to $40, I win, right? They think I've paid in full. I've gotten $5,000 worth of merchandise, and they'll have to figure out later why they didn't have any money. Why don't have enough money? And then finally, violations of accessibility, denial of service. Ransomware is the most recent painful one, but it could also be hacktivism. They don't want you to be able to service your customers, or if you're a government site, provide information to your citizens because they don't like one of your policies or something. And this went much faster than I expected it to go, but now that I've talked about all this stuff, the question is, how do you use it? The way we've implemented it is you can use it in dashboards to show, hey, where are things on the attack lifecycle? How much Recon stuff am I seeing that's important in Recon? How many exploits have we seen? How much C2 activity are we seeing? How much discovery are we seeing? How much internal scanning? All of these things that I've mentioned, we can now give you an idea of how many events have happened along those ways. You can also go through and say, how many things were targets that were target of delivery and a target of exploit, and now they're doing C2 data, and now they're doing lateral movement, or they're doing discovery and scanning their neighboring systems. Because that's a pivot point, and that means that your nice innocent little server sitting over there being a good kid is now a teenager, a malicious person, and has been subverted and is under somebody else's control. The other thing is, and this is what I alluded to earlier, is the rules use it to escalate investigations. The rules that we will be providing with the Cloud SIM Premium, or what's the phrase for it? Advanced capabilities, sorry. It's been changing every day for a few months. I get a little confused. So it's going to escalate the investigation. So when we see that something has happened and we've seen that it's been on the attack lifecycle in different points, then we're going to bump that up as higher priority because now we have more evidence. And this is something that you really should spend more time looking at sooner rather than something that may have weaker evidence that it's important. And of course, when in the near future, we'll have the investigation workflow that will be able to show you when you look at a specific entity, all the information based on the attack lifecycle that goes along with it. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming and listening to me babble for a little bit. The next talk is going to be the best practices for securing your containerized applications. Also, we have the QR code, so please feel free to rate me and this talk with your phone. And
we have time for a couple of questions.
We have some time for questions.
And,
so
I have a microphone. If anyone wants to ask a question. Perfect.
What's the price point for Cloud SIM? Is that an add-on or how is it priced?
That is Stefano's question. So
Yes. The advanced capabilities, if you attended the keynote, we're moving to a new credit-based system. So you get credits and you can use it for any functionality we provide. So that's a short answer. Come to me afterwards and I can tell you more about it, or anyone else has questions. But that's a general kind of answer. It's credit-based.
So following up on the last gentleman's question, if we wanted to use a little bit of SIM, would it cost a little bit of credits if we wanted to try it out, or is it kind of that model, or is it? Yeah, awesome.
I have a question on the, we have two speakers that ahead of you, Prentice, that spoke about the MITRE attack model in different ways.
Right.
Can you compare and contrast?
Okay, sure. So the attack, the Sumo attack lifecycle is a broad sort of abstract layer. You can map everything in the MITRE attack framework into the place of the attack of our attack lifecycle. In fact, like collection and discovery are two terms that are in the MITRE attack, which have a bunch of different distinctions. So one of the advantages of doing it this way is that when you're making a report, say again? Oh, sorry. When you're making a distinction this way, you don't, when you're showing something to your CISO or to the CEO or to the board, they don't necessarily care about the 15 different ways you can do persistence. They just want to know, do you have a problem with persistence of intruders having persistence on your network? Or they want to know, they don't care which exact exploits. They don't care about CVE numbers. They don't care about the type of attack it was. They just care, was it mitigated? Was it exploited? Did we patch it? Did we kick the bad guys out? So this is a more general thing, and you would deep dive deeper into those things, into the MITRE attack framework. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it's a great explanation. And with that, we have the time allotted. I'm sure Prentice will have more time on the side. And please join me to thank you, Prentice, for the very interesting conversation.
Thank you for attending.